fifth grade. Today we're going to be talking about graphing and the coordinate plane. What we're first going to be doing is we're going to be going over some of the important vocabulary for graphing, and then we're going to practice it ourselves. So first we're going to take a look at the coordinate plane. So whenever you see the word coordinate plane like this, what we're talking about is this right here. And the coordinate plane is made up of some different parts. So to start off with, we have these two kind of arrows sprouting out. And this down here is called the x-axis. So it is basically how far right we are moving. And then we have what is called the y-axis, which goes up and down. So we have what is called our horizontal and vertical axes. And so we have our x-axis and our y-axis. This one goes up and down. This one goes side to side or left and right. Now we have dots that you'll see on your coordinate plane, and those are called your coordinates. And then we also have this point right here, which is called our origin, or when we think about ordered pairs, we think of this point as 0, 0. Now on the topic of ordered pairs, what an ordered pair is it basically tells us where an object or a point is at on a coordinate plane. So if I had the ordered pair 2, 4, what that means is that I need to move right 2 spaces. So I'd move right 2 spaces, and then I would move up 4 spaces. So I move right 2, up 4, and I would plot my point at that spot. When you are writing an ordered pair, you always write it with parentheses and a comma separating the two numbers. The first number is always the x coordinate, so how far right you are moving, and the y coordinate is the one that goes up, and it tells us how far up we're moving. So remember, our x coordinate tells us how far right we're moving, and our y coordinate tells us how far up we're moving. So let's go ahead and practice this with our first example problem. So for our first example, we're going to be looking at finding the ordered pair for points A and B. So whenever I have problems like this and I ask for an ordered pair, I know that my answer is going to be in parentheses with a comma separating the two numbers. So I'm just going to set that up right now so I can make sure that I write my answer correctly. And we're going to start with point A. So point A is located right here. And what I always want to do is I always want to start with my x coordinate first. And the reason why I like to start with my x coordinate first is because I want to first see how far right I'm moving, and then I want to see how far up I'm moving. You could also remember the order that you're supposed to go in just by remembering the alphabet. X goes before Y, so you always want to find x first. So to find the x coordinate for point A, I need to see how far right did point A move. So I look at point A and I see how far right did it move. I do that by looking directly under point A, and I see that it moved over right just 1 space. So I will put 1 in my x coordinate space. Next, I need to find the y coordinates for point A as well, and I do this by seeing how far up point A has moved. So looking at point A, I look at how far up it's moved by looking at the side and seeing what it is lined up with. I see that it's lined up with the number 1 over here. So that tells me that my A coordinates, or my point on my coordinate plane, has only moved up 1 space. I have now finished writing the ordered pair for point A, and it is 1, 1, because it has moved to the right 1, and it's moved up 1. So right 1, up 1. Now for point B, what I need to do for point B is I need to again find my x coordinate first. So I'm going to see how far right my point B has moved, and I see that point B is lined up with 3. So the x coordinate for B, or how far right B has moved, is 3 spaces, or just 3. Then I have to find the y coordinate, and the y coordinate tells me how far up my point has moved. So then, looking at my y-axis, I see what point B lines up with. And I see that moving up and over, I see that B lines up with point 4 on the y-axis. So the coordinates, or the ordered pair for point B, is 3, 4. And that's all we have to do when we are finding the ordered pairs for a point. So if you ever see a question like this, you look at the graph, you find the x and the y coordinate, and you write it just like so. Now, another type of problem that you could see is when you have to plot the points on a graph. So if you see ordered pairs like this, kind of separated by commas, it's asking you to plot these points on your graph. So what we'll do is, let's say we're going to name these points. So we're going to name this point A right now. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at our x-coordinate. Our x-coordinate is 3. So I'm going to move to the right 3. And then my y-coordinate is 2. So I move over 3 and up 2. And then I draw a little circle right there. I can even label it A if that helps me. And I now see that I have the point 3, 2 on my graph. So that is called plotting a point when you put a point on a graph. Now let's say our next point is going to be called point B. For point B, I have an x-coordinate of just 0 and a y-coordinate of 4. If you ever have an x-coordinate that is 0, what that means is that you are not moving right at all. You're moving over to the right on the x-axis, not at all. So we're just going to stay right here. Then I know that I have to move up 4 because that is what is in my y-axis, or on my y-coordinate. So that I move up 4, and since I didn't move right at all, my point that I'm plotting is actually going to be right on the y-axis. And I will just label this as point B, because you can mark points right on the axis if one of the numbers is 0, because that tells us that it either didn't move right at all, or as you're about to see, it didn't move up at all. So for our next point, we'll go ahead and just label that C. We now have to plot the point for 0. If we're plotting for 0, what this tells me again is my x-coordinate says that I'm moving over 4, right? But since my y-coordinate is 0, what that means is that I'm not moving up at all. So I move right 4, I don't move up at all, so I leave that point right there. I can label it C, and I now have all of my points plotted. So the main takeaway from this point right here is that if you have a 0 in the x-coordinates, that means that you're not moving over at all on the x-axis. And if you have a 0 as your y-coordinate, that means you're not moving up at all on the y-axis. So let's move on to the next page now and try out this next question. So this one says, if point 1, 2 shifts 2 spaces right and, oops, I didn't write how many spaces, and 1 space up, what is the new ordered pair? Since I didn't have how many spaces up, just fill it in with 1, please. So what we're going to need to do, 5th grade, is we first need to see where our point starts at. So our point starts at 1, 2. So we start over 1, because that's our x-coordinate, and up 2, because that's our y-coordinate. So this is where we're starting, and we're trying to figure out where our new space is. So this says that we are shifting or moving 2 spaces right. So if I'm moving 2 spaces right, that would be at 3, but I'm not done just yet because I still need to move 1 space up. So now I need to move 1 space up from this new space I just got to, and then I can plot my new point. I'm going to check my answer real fast just to make sure I'm correct. So I'm moving 2 spaces right and 1 space up, which gives me the new ordered pair over 3. So to the right 3 and up 3 as well. So 3, 3 would be our new ordered pair or our answer. Now another option that you have is if you don't have a graph there and I ask you just to kind of visualize in your head what is happening, What I like to think about is that if I have a point that's at, let's say, 1, 2, and I need to move 2 spaces right, I can just add 2 to my x coordinates, because I know that if I'm moving right, then that is changing my x coordinates. And then if I'm moving 1 space up, then that is changing my y coordinates. So I would just add 1 to my y coordinates. And then after I do that, I would have my new ordered pair. And of course, you don't always have to write out the math for this. If you can just do it in your head, that is also okay. So 5th grade, these are just some examples of different types of graphing problems that you might see. But at the bottom of this page, I want you guys to get started on the U try problem. For this one, you're going to be plotting points 0, 2, and 5, 0. Remember what we learned about from this page, or this part of our notes right here. And after you finish that part of the U try problem, you're then going to move on to finding the ordered pair for point A. So you're going to take a look at point A and write an ordered pair for that number. Once you're done with this, please let me know and I can check your answers. And good luck today, 5th grade. Good job.